Hi everybody, Lloyd Hendricks here. I'm coming to you from my classroom today as summer is sadly coming to a close and school is about to start again. All the teachers like myself are back in our rooms, getting them back into shape, ready for the kids. And normally, I'm not gonna lie to you, normally I'm a little bummed. Obviously summer's a great time, a lot of fun, enjoyable. But this year I'm actually kind of excited because I've got an idea for my capstone project that I think is going to be a lot of fun to do, and I think also it could be very, very revealing and informative for people that are interested in this subject matter. So let's take a look real fast. If you don't mind listening for a little bit, I'll tell you what it's all about. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about my capstone proposal. This is an idea that I've kind of had in my head for a very long time that I just didn't really ever have a reason to really put it down on paper or put a project to it. But my idea is to first investigate how can participating in high school sports improve student success, and then to do the actual project side and answer what are some ways that a school district could effectively communicate the benefits of that participation in sports. I'm a teacher at Pearland ISD, and so this is obviously a subject near and dear to my heart personally. And of course, I'm also a huge sports fan, and most people know that. Anybody who knows me will know that. And so both of these subjects are things that I really care about and I'm very interested in. Now, sports are massive, massive in our society and in our schools. We all know that athletes will benefit not just in a physical sense. I mean, obviously, getting some exercise, working out a little bit, that's going to be good for our health. We all know that. Those of us like myself that don't necessarily do anywhere near enough of that exercise could probably do a little bit better job of it. But we all understand that, and there's plenty of research about that. But what I want to look at are the academic, the social, and the behavioral improvements. And we saw, in our own experience, we would see that when we were in high school. But I wanted to look at some research and see what some researchers have done and what they've learned and put down on paper. And I found a absolute just ton of studies, so many studies from all across the world. I'm talking like Europe, South America, Mexico. I found so many studies where they looked at high school students or high school age type students, if they don't call it that, and those benefits of participating in sports. Now, here in the United States, according to the National Federation of State High School Associations, nearly 6 million high school students participated in sports across the USA in the school years 2022 to 2023. That's quite a few. In Texas, about 36% of high school students take part in sports. Now that, of course, is from USA Today, and they had a great article about that, and the link is there if you'd like to take a look at it. But the 36% thing is what was really surprising to me. It does sound like a lot because we have a lot of kids in Texas, and a lot of kids, like to play sports. But when you looked at the numbers, Texas was actually tied for 28th place as far as total percentage of kids taking part. So I was a little surprised about that. I thought it'd be a little bit higher than that, but it's still a lot of kids. And of course, you can also think about this is talking about kids that only actually play in the sport. There's lots of other sort of like side groups like the band and the cheerleading team, the drill team, things like that also take part in games and whatnot. And while they're not actually out there on the field playing, for example, in football, they are out there and they're a very important, very integral part as well. So I don't think that 36% was including those students. It didn't say specifically, and I need to look and see later on at some point. And at some point, I plan to do that when I can. But just take a look and see just how big high school sports are. This is a photo I took of the other high school in Pearland called Dawson High School. This was at a game when they were actually playing the Pearland Oilers, where I work at Pearland High School. These are the Dawson Eagles. That was their fans, and they had just scored a touchdown, and the kids were all excited. They had the confetti flowing, and they had the baby powder they were throwing up in the air and stuff, and it looked really great. And of course, it was also breast cancer awareness night, so all the kids were dressed in pink. It was a really great shot, I thought. And you can just see they're not out there on the field, but they're very excited about it. It just gives you an idea. Sports are just enormous in our society. Here is a shot from 2018 from the Pearland kids. They had a little come and take it flag because we had obviously were the #1 Pearland school according to them, and yeah, maybe me too. But they're out there. They're all excited. It was a blackout night, so they're dressed in black. They have the little white thunder sticks, banging them around, just having a great time. But look at this. This is going to show you just how big sports really, really are in a lot of ways. This picture right here is from the 2018 6A Division II. That's the second biggest classification. in Texas high school football. This is the state championship game in 2018. We have the Longview versus Westbrook, and this game takes place at AT&T Stadium up in Arlington, the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. And you can see just from the background, that's a very wide shot, and I did it on purpose. The background has all those people. Look at how many people are there, and it's a little sparse in the middle there, but it's a lot of people at that game. There was nearly 50,000 people at that game, and I'll show you another shot from a different angle here. You can see, again, even on the other side of the stadium, still a very, very big crowd. But it wasn't the largest crowd ever, right? I'm actually quite proud of this, frankly. The Pearland Oilers in 2013 made it to the state championship game. Unfortunately, we didn't win the game. The Allen Eagles beat us, but you can see in the background there, that's a pretty big crowd as well. And in fact, it turned out to be a record-breaking crowd. They had to open up the highest levels of the stadium, and I took a shot at the screen. There was 54,347 people there. So it just goes to show you how big sports really are and how many people support high school sports and talk about high school sports and show up for big games like this in high school sports. So let's look at the research objectives. I want to examine the academic benefits of a high school sports participation towards academic success. I want to explore how high school sports foster social integration and develop essential social skills. I want to investigate the behavioral outcomes associated with sports participation and how these contribute to overall student success, and prepare for the further research in the actual project phase on how school districts can better communicate the benefits of sports to their stakeholders. So there's my research objectives. Let's look at the literature. I'm obviously not going to look at every single piece of literature that I read, but I'm going to give you a couple of examples from those three areas. So first off, some literature on how sports can improve academics here. Maria Aberg from the Institute for Neuroscience and Physiology at the University of Gothenburg put together a study for the National Academy of Sciences way back in 2009 that showed a positive correlation between cardiovascular fitness and cognitive capabilities in young people. Obviously, cognitive capability improvement is going to lead to, hopefully anyway, at least, improved academics. In most cases, I would argue that it would. And in 2020, Ryan D. Burns from the University of Utah headed up an analysis of the 2017 U.S. National Youth Risk Behavior Survey that demonstrated a link between participating in sports and in high academic achievement. Now, if you're not familiar with the National Youth Risk Behavior Survey, that is a survey that you may have done in high school and not even realized it if you've been in high school in the last 20 years or so. But the kids fill out a little survey, and it asks things like, what do you do? What kind of clubs are you in? What kind of classes do you take? Do you take high honors courses? Do you whatever? And then it also asks the kids what kind of risk behaviors they partake in, and that'd be like taking drugs or smoking or drinking or whatever. So a lot of those kids that reported participating in sports also reported high academic achievement, and typically they also reported less risk behavior. But we'll get to that here in another couple of slides. So let's look and see how a couple of examples how sports can improve social development. First off, Ambra Gentile, or Gentili, I'm not sure how you pronounce her last name, from the University of Palermo, along with a host of other writers with her, found in 2020 that playing sports improved the social skills of the subjects, like understanding of other people's feelings. They promoted sharing and also learning to compromise. I mean, if you think about when you were a little kid and you had a couple of toys or whatever playing with friends or siblings, what did your parents say? No, Timmy, you can't play with the toy yet. Mikey's playing with it, but in 5 minutes it'll be your turn to share, or learning to compromise by ways of like, oh, I don't want to go to bed yet. Okay, well, if you brush your teeth right now, I'll let you watch, 15 more minutes of TV and then you can go to bed, something like that. Those social skills are incredibly important to our development, and the study showed that sports can definitely improve those in the kids that play them. Rafael Lima, and again, quite a few other people were with him as well. If you take a look at my works cited page, from the University of Rondonia, studied the effects of learning karate in 2017. One of the findings was that as students progress through the program and they interact more with the other kids, they begin to shed some of those social difficulties and anxieties, which was leading to better behavior and possibly also, more importantly, the acknowledgement of the rights of others. That's one of those things where you learn those social skills and you realize like you're not the most important person in the world. You know, the terrible twos, the kids are sort of like, you know, centered. They're the center of the universe. But as you get older, you begin to realize, hey, everybody else is here. Everybody else has feelings and needs and desires and whatnot, and so I have to respect those as well. So that's pretty interesting stuff there. Here's a couple of examples of how sports can improve student behavior. In 2021, a study by Mia Papasideris from the University of Waterloo found a negligible effect of sports on academic performance in the study sample, but they did find improved behavior results like better class participation, lower rates of absences, and fewer instances of behaviors that would lead to punishment. In other words, you know, fewer acting up, fewer skipping class, things like that, which as a teacher, that's, you know, always welcome, quite frankly. And in 2019, a study by Dr. Andrea Firth Clark, she's a sports psychologist from the University of East London, studied how cognitive behavioral therapy helped the student athletes with self-regulation and correcting undesired behaviors at school as well. That's a study that I found quite interesting, mainly because the particular school that she works in is designed to basically give you a degree in essentially like managing sports operations, which is pretty neat. I was thinking maybe I should transfer, huh? I don't know, maybe. But it sounded like a really, really interesting place. The University of East London is really big, though. If you're not familiar with it, it's got a lot of different colleges or all sorts of different things. But it was very interesting. So the analysis of all the readings that I did, basically, they all pretty much showed that the relationship between sports participation and academic success in high school students was pretty well demonstrated in the literature samples that I did. And the social and behavioral benefits of participating were also found to be very, very strong. Although I would like to continue reading to locate a little bit more research in those areas. There was not quite, I didn't feel not quite enough studies I had found yet, but I wanted to continue looking into them, and I probably will do that very soon. So with research showing that participating in sports can boost cognitive abilities, it can improve social skills and foster appropriate behavioral patterns, that's obviously what we want to see. So in order to encourage that, teachers, administrators, and district leadership that's in charge of policy basically should recognize and promote reasonable participation in sports as part of a well-rounded learner's development. So how can they do that? What are some ways they can do that? Well, my future project would entail partially maybe coming up with some good ideas for that. I've always felt personally, and this is just my own personal feelings, school districts don't do enough to promote their sports teams through the official district channels. You know, every district seems to have, you know, various organizations that kind of promote themselves, but the official #1 district channel, I feel like I don't see them put enough about sports. And I'll get to, you know, if that's just my perception or not in a minute or two, if that's what you might be thinking. I could see how you might be. There could be a lot of reasons why they do that, though. They could be both intentional and unintentional. For example, an intentional reason might be something, just speculating. You know, a lot of people get upset, especially here in Texas, when they see how much money school districts are spending on things like stadiums and things like you know, new turf and new gyms and sports equipment and big money on like drones to fly over the practices and record them. Why do you need that? Why do you need that? I hear it all the time. And it's obviously a big concern. Money is always a huge concern with everything, but especially in school funding, it can be quite a really large concern. And a lot of people don't understand how the funding systems work. And I won't get into that now, but that is a big part of it. But that could be an intentional reason. They may just want to avoid those kind of conversations as much as they can, and I totally understand that. But it could also be unintentional. They may not just may not be aware. There's been times where I've spoken to district staff about particular things, whether it be a game or a particular athlete who's doing really well. For example, Pearland has an athlete right now who's playing in the under-18 baseball world tournament. He's down in Panama, and he was spectacular. He threw 4 innings of baseball yesterday as a pitcher, and he struck out 11 out of the 12 batters, and the other one had a pop-up, and it was just a spectacular performance, but they haven't said anything about it, and I think they just don't know is what it is right there, really. So considering all the research that I've done on the benefits of sports participation for the high school students, I'd like to put together a little capstone project on that. So here's my ideas. Oh, well, I'm sorry. Like I said, recognizing that it could just be my own perceptions and my own biases, right? To make sure that it's not me influencing the project more than I would want to or should at all. I would want to do both a quantitative and a qualitative analysis. And the way I would do that, oh, there we go. My quantitative analysis would be to take 1 year, spend 1 year looking at and recording the official channels of social media and district website communication. And I got an example there for you from actually last summer, I think that was. I want to record every single instance, look at every single one, follow them all, and figure out what it's about. What I would do is I would set it up into 2 categories. It would be sports stories and non-sports stuff, basically. So sports related and non-sports. And really simple, nothing too terribly, in depth yet. So if it's like just, a little picture or, an entire profile of the team, they would only count as 1 story. So it's whenever they cover that is when I would look at it. And again, there's another example from last year from the district social media. In the qualitative analysis, what I want to do is put together 3 focus groups consisting of students, of parents, and the district communications team staff. And I want to talk to them and ask them their feelings. I want to find out how do they feel about the amount of focus that sports receives from the official district channels. Now, it could be that I'm looking at it through different eyes, and the way I feel about it may be something completely different from how everybody else in town feels about it. And I wouldn't be surprised to find that out, frankly. But I want to ask them, and the focus groups would be roughly 8 people, and I would use convenient sampling to make it easy because there's just, the fact that I work here at Pearland. That's why I would want to do that. But I would also probably need to go ahead and grab a moderator to help me as well to make sure that I'm not, oversharing or over influencing the focus groups in any way. The questions that would be, developed along the way. I won't lie and say I have them. I don't really have them quite yet, but I do have some ideas in my head. But I want to make sure that they're open-ended, engagement style questions. So there's not, just a yes or a no answer. That's boring and it doesn't tell you much. I want to have some exploration questions to really delve into how do you feel, what do you think, et cetera, et cetera. And then, of course, also offer the focus groups some exit questions to make sure that if they have any more thoughts about something maybe I didn't ask about that I didn't think of, that they would be able to tell me those things. Okay, so there you have it. I appreciate you listening to my project there. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions or any ideas that might help me improve it or maybe, change some things or whatever you think I need to do, I would love to hear them. Please let me know. And other than that, I hope everybody has a great school year if you're a teacher, or just a great year period if you're not, and I'll hopefully see you in the next course. Thanks, everybody.